Larry and I got together many years ago, and we both had some sailing experience. He vastly more than I, but we'd each had about 3 or 4 sailboats beforehand. And finally, after a few years together, we decided that we would build our perfect sailboat and sail away for our retirement. And that is what happened. Now, why do people sail? Well, one of the major reasons for people that we meet are they want to go from here, which is the beautiful Pacific Northwest of British Columbia, Canada, to paradise, which in this case is Destination Island, the westernmost islands of Australia. And you can see that it's a beautiful climate. It's a wonderful place to be. And in this particular island, which is really set up for world cruisers who stop there during the best time of year on their way around the world, it has a barbecue pit. It has a freshwater tank that you can use to wash clothes. And you meet a lot of people from other boats. And in this case, we made friends with a boat which pulled in. At the bow were 3 very beautiful women lowering an anchor, and at the wheel was Rune, the captain, and the boat was opportune and it hailed from Norway. And we became very good friends with them. There's Larry on the left, Cecily, Marie, Ava, and Rune. We had dinners aboard. We ended up having barbecues ashore. There's a barbecue pit ashore. There are picnic tables. There's a payphone. And they ended up asking us if we would like to go. They found out we were scuba divers, and Runa, the captain, had heard of a wonderful dive site called Cabbage Patch, not too far away, but yet 2 or 3 miles away by dinghy from this isolated island to the west of Australia in the middle of the Indian Ocean. And he said it wouldn't really be safe to go with only one dinghy, and we could all go and we could go diving. So that's one of the things we did. Now, Larry and I don't actually buddy boat, but we seem to end up meeting up on various places in the Indian Ocean, including here where we went cave walking in Rodrigue. Here also at Rodrigue, where we rented motor scooters. I, alas, fell off, but didn't hurt myself too badly. And luckily the insurance covered the damage to the scooter. We ended up meeting Roald and Greta Zombie, Runa's parents, and they came aboard in Mauritius. And because we'd spent so much time with their son, they invited us to go with them on a van tour around the island of Mauritius. So we did that. We did more diving in Mauritius. And somewhere during this time, Runa and his crew convinced us that if we were in London, which we planned to be, by October 1st of the following year, we should spend a summer touring Norway and Svalbard, which is a beautiful island north of Svalbard. So that sort of settled in our mind. We ended up then going to South Africa, and we were fortunate enough to have met other people on this same cruise at Cocos Keeling. Jen, her brother James, and her captain Rick on a boat that hailed from South Africa, from Cape Town. It turned out that Jen's father, Tim Sales, ran a safari business in Cape Town. He was an expatriate Brit, having lived in Cape Town many years, and he set up the most amazing safari for Larry and myself. His safaris are all based on what you can afford to pay. So we told him a sum of money, and we had a wonderful safari. We saw a leopard lunching on an impala haunch, haunch in the middle of a tree. When this leopard jumped down from the tree, you could feel it rebound on the ground. And it went all the way from that to from the sublime to the ridiculous of the dung beetle, who made his living by putting his eggs into the dung, and they fed off that wonderful ingredient. At Christmas time, we invited Rune and the other opportunes aboard for Christmas. And from there, we left. We didn't see them again. We headed off and went up both Atlantic Oceans to London. And we got to London by October 1st, having gone Indian Ocean, South Atlantic, North Atlantic, stopping in lots of places along the way, and heading up the St. Lawrence to Niagara on the Lake, where we met our family, and having our kids, grandkids aboard, and back out, and to London by October 1st. You can see there that we're at St. Catherine Pier, and we spent the winter in St. Catherine's Docks in the middle of London, next to Tower Bridge, which you see here. Shortly after we got to London, we got a call from Rune, and he said, you really should come over to Norway at the beginning of March to see this amazing event, which is staged at the beginning of March every year. And so we wondered why, but we managed to get the airplane tickets over there, went over, ended up staying with Rune on his boat Opportune. And we went to the Finnmark slope, which is the equivalent of the Iditarod, but it runs from northern Norway, where Rune lives, at 70 degrees north in Alta, over to Finland and back to Alta. And back to London for a while. But he did take us, even though we stayed on his boat. He took us to this very expensive ice hotel. And we enjoyed looking at it. Anyway, fast forward to the next summer. Larry, my husband, had often looked at posters of Norway, and he really wanted to see this scene, which is a Norwegian fjord that you're looking at from high above with a little tent parked on the shore. Well, we didn't exactly get to do that, but we mentioned to our friend Cecily that we'd like to see that type of scene. And through a 2-hour drive in her car and a walk for about a couple of hours, we got up to this place, which is Preikestolen. And there are no, in Norway, they believe that you're adults. They don't need to put gates up to guard you against falling off the edge. If you fall off the edge, you basically want to. And so we had a wonderful time there because of Cecily. Now, Cecily, one of the crew of Opportune, is an electrician in the summers in Norway, putting electricity into large complexes that are built in the summer. And in the winter, for several years, she was meeting groups of sailors on the World Ark at various paradise islands, like the one we met her on. So there we are together on that walk. From there, of course, by now, all our friends on Opportune who are younger than us were back at work, including Rune. Rune is a ranger in northern Norway, and it seems that in the winter, he's basically looking after wolves, reindeer herds, and in the summer, he's monitoring fishing, salmon fishing primarily along the coastline of Norway, the northern Norway. And so he was back at work. We ended up in Bergen, a beautiful city. We ended up from there going to Molde, which is on the coast. And we were there for Norway Day. And at Norway Day, we met Ava and her parents who met us, brought some Scandinavian treats, which were pancakes and berry jam to go with them. Her mother was wearing a Nordic costume or Norwegian costume. This is worn by women for things like Norway Day, all weddings, all funerals, any great event. This is an appropriate dress to wear. And in her case, it is embroidered with the territorial flowers and grasses and things from the area that she grew up in. As we passed through Norway, we would meet up with Rune and the various crew at various points. And here we are up north. You can see the Hurtigruten, which is the Norwegian method of connecting all the towns along the long western shore of Norway, from Bergen up to North Cap, which is the Russian border, and it's parked behind. You can see that it was a very busy harbor. We wondered where we could stay, but luckily Rune came along on opportune and with his friend Guru on Bacchus, and he managed to get us a spot at the dock because we ended up having dinner there. And here's some of the young people that we met there. Now, Jackie was from Canada. Lene, next to her, is Cecily's cousin. And the two women had taken an Atlantic circuit all the way over to, I think, the Caribbean and back a few years earlier on a small boat. Lene was the navigator and Cecily did all the maintenance. And she's the electrician. She's great at seemingly at all mechanical opportunities. Lene is a state prosecutor for the government in Norway for financial crimes. From there, we went up to Saroya, which is if you look on the map, it's nearly at the very top of mainland Norway. And that's where Rune's father, Roald, grew up and has his inherited paternal fishing rights. So they do salmon fishing in the summers, and they took us out and they fed us magnificently with salmon, with rhubarb crumble made from rhubarb on their property. Here we are. We had got up north to the Foten Islands. This is a photograph I took when I went out at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's just magnificent scenery. Another amazing Norwegian view is this one of a mountain with a hole in it. The fjords there are very populated by cruise ships. So you can see how immense the cliffs are because that is an enormous cruise ship. And Geiranger Fjord is one of the most visited fjords in Norway. So you can see on this map, Saroya. We left from Saroya to go to Svalbard, stopped at Bornøya for a brief time, and went on to the capital, basically the main city in Svalbard, which is Longyearbyen. And we had a most amazing time because the weather was really good. We visited many wonderful places. We saw many wonderful sights, including this. And while we were there, we got to meet the rangers in that area who came by to check our paperwork. Norway and in company with a number of countries, signed a treaty just after the First War, which gives Norway the supervision of Svalbard. But many countries also signed the treaty, including Canada. So theoretically, if we had wanted to, we could have got a job there. We had the same rights as Norwegians in terms of getting jobs, fishing, etc. But the way Norway sort of safeguards this incredibly vast and important northern territory of theirs is to have teams of rangers sort of spread out over the summer months to monitor what's going on. And they generally have a team with a biologist, this was Anders, to look after the animal rights, and a policeman, this was Fred. So they came for dinner, and we were fortunate to be invited back by them. And there you can see that it's the Sisselman's zodiac that they came in and ferried us around in. The Sisselman is governor in Norwegian. So this was part of the government. This is the hut that they stayed in over the summer. And they took us to see bears. And we saw a lot of bears up there. We had an amazing time. And before I leave this brief introduction to our wonderful meeting with people that enhanced our lives so much when we were in Norway, I want to visit beautiful Troll Fjord and to say goodbye to Norway. In closing, I must say that had I known about Blue Water Cruising Organization when Larry and I first got together on Traversay III, I definitely would have signed up for a number of the courses they were offering, because although I'd taken a few Canadian Yachting Association courses, there were many things that I was unsure of, such as docking a boat, such as engine repair, such as basic navigation. All of these things you can learn through experts that basically volunteer their time. Well, you pay a small amount in order to learn this, and you are able to attend many courses given by experts. So thank you for listening.